Well, hello, everyone. Probably strange voice, but not strange, not so strange. This is Harriet. And, and today is Wednesday, December the 13th. Wow, seems like December just came in. And today we will be on, how do I want to say, dissecting the third chapter of Course in Miracles, um, Beyond Perception is the section that we'll be in, which is section 5. And before we get started, and I can kind of gather my thoughts, let us take a moment to settle down, take in a full, deep, cleansing breath. And as we let go all of our cares, worries, concerns that we have encountered this day. And let us be grateful that we are able to come together and have these few moments where we share our knowledge, our understanding of this Course in Miracles. And let us listen to the words of the Christ as was dictated to him by, or that was dictated by him to Helen Schucman. And she saw fit to share it with the rest of the world. A course that we can all use to help us in our day-to-day living and keeping us centered and in touch with the Great Spirit. And with that, I say, and so it is. As I just mentioned, we are in chapter 3, The Innocent Perception, and we are beginning section 5, Beyond Perception.
Okay.
And the first paragraph reads, I have said that the abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength. And that perception, which is inherently judgmental, was introduced only after the separation. No one has been sure of anything since. I have also made it clear that the resurrection was the means for the return to knowledge, which was accomplished by the union of my will with the Father's. We can now establish a distinction that will clarify some of our subsequent statements. And the thing that I want everybody to keep in mind, and which I have to constantly remind myself of, is that whenever we see the I, that is Jesus Christ speaking to us, because remember I just said that he is the one that dictated this whole course to Helen Schucman. I have said that the abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength, and that perception, which is inherently judgmental, was introduced only after the separation. And what he's telling us, that we have the same abilities, but we're not used the same abilities. We are able to perform the same miracles that he did when he walked this earth. However, the difference is we are too busy doubting ourselves. We are too busy feeding ourselves a lot of negative thoughts. But he is telling us, not only here, but if you study the Bible, he tells us there that we have the same abilities and we can perform the same miracles as such that he performed. Any comments or questions about that? Andre, what are your thoughts? Are you there? Paris, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
here.
listening. I'm just listening.
I, was- I,
Go ahead.
I like the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Of
What you mean, the
the
first part of that sentence?
yes, the beginning of letting everyone know that this is something that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with you that through the writings, because we've kind of been through it, so kind of speaking on levels of what a prophet called a prophet caught from these words. So I is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that that word is to remind us that I can do
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it. It's a reassurance um, of so many things. I'm I'm a little twisted today because I've had a discussion with someone and so I've been in a weird discussion with someone before I can answer questions like that because I'm still kind of twisting my head. But
Okay.
from where I've caught that, it shows that um, to me personally that we all we all know and we all know that we have a knowledge of self,
Mm-hmm.
and we know, and if you may not know the whole world, but you know who you are, and if you doubt yourself. So just
Exactly.
starting off is a very powerful, and that, powerful statement. So coming from there, I would go on. But
And I agree with you. That is a very powerful statement. And it's something I think that all of us, every one of us, every person walking the face of this earth needs to remind ourselves of from time to time. And as long as we are, how do I want to put it? As long as we recognize our strengths and our abilities and use it for the good of ourselves, our communities, and the world around us, our immediate environment. As long as we don't use it to belittle, judge, or put down someone else, and we use it to build up that an individual who might not think very highly of themselves. Um, we need to, that's what we really need to do. We need to, well, I do anyway, need to just remind myself that whenever you see somebody and if they seem to be in some way or other struggling or stumbling with a situation or an issue, take a moment, take a deep breath, and say, and remind yourself that there but for the grace of God go I, which I use quite often sometimes, and be grateful that you're not in that situation, and then find a way to help the individual, or at least let them know that they're okay with a hug. Sometimes words are not even necessary, just your presence of being in the presence of someone who is struggling with an issue. Just being there, holding their hand, giving them the positive energy that you have so that they can summon the strength that they have within them that they might not realize they have. Did you have a comment for us?
No, I'm just listening right now. I'm coming back. Just give me a moment.
Oh, okay. Penny, or you wanna? Okay, we'll go to the next sentence. No one,
I think we can break that down a little bit more if you don't mind, Miss Harriet.
okay, go ahead.
You know,
Go ahead.
like I said, my computer was my phone was a little small. I really haven't really have been moving around.
Okay,
But it also says that the abilities that we possess are is just a shadow of our real strength.
exactly.
And again, we're back with perception again. So there therefore, I mean, again, I'm seeing it from I'm seeing it from the magic that we just have. And I'm going to use the word magic
Okay.
for this purpose. That we are just the shepherds of the earth. We are knowledgeable of what's going on. So we have a strength that is also pushed into us, not only from just from a spiritual point of view, but also not just. And I don't want to break the two apart, but from a spiritual point of view, but also where we are, this vibration that we also get a boost of energy from there as well. But with that, we have a cost, and that gives us a judgmental point of view. So, would you call that knowledge that was introduced? Because I mean,
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
For me, even where I live, what I like to do sometimes, even when I'm walking in the street or whatever, with my hoodie on, is to talk to somebody, let them know that just because someone's black that has a hoodie, they might see somebody with a hoodie and me like, oh my, he's black, he's hoodie. What's he gonna do? So I always try to make an effort to talk to people and let them know that I have a hoodie on and I'm black and I'm young, and so I'm not going to try to rob you or hurt you. So I like to try to purposely break down the stereotypes of what people may perceive of a black person with a hoodie on that they've seen in media. So I make it an effort to talk to someone who's white or young or older to let them know that just because I'm a hoodie, I have to let you know that you have a perception of maybe you saw me, you kind of backed away because you didn't know, but I could speak to them to let them know that it's okay to speak to a young black man. So I'm making an effort to talk to someone when they kind of back away. They're like, "Hello, how are you?" So I always making an effort to try to break down the stereotypes.
Good, excellent. And you know, Forrest, sometimes you don't even have to speak verbally. Just make that eye contact and give them a smile. You know, the verbal is good. I'm not saying don't do it, but sometimes just eye contact and a smile
That's
will
or something like that. Also,
will
yes,
do.
I agree. That's I
Yeah,
also do that too. Yes.
yeah.
well, and yeah, I'm with you all on that. Going back to that word as far as perception, would you could
Look it
is
up.
perception a point of power that we all have? I mean, because we all can, so is our perception powerful?
I think we all live with spirits these connections what people bring perceptions like. So I think it's a good and bad thing.
Hey, y'all,
Um,
if I can kind of jump in right here for a second. You know, perception goes along with the ego.
mhm,
Our egos are the thing that perceives, because perception, we can only perceive things through our senses, what we
Mhm.
see, what we hear, what we feel,
feel, smell,
what we smell, what we taste.
or
So we can
hear.
only really perceive through our senses. And the difference between like perception and knowledge doesn't need to perceive, because knowledge doesn't have to gauge or wonder what the thing is. Knowledge already knows. Knowledge
Mm.
knows everything. Like if you know that A is the first letter of the alphabet, you don't have to perceive whether, you know, A and Z are different letters.
Yeah, so
It's
you're not
because
worried about that. You're not looking for the luck of the draw
right. Well, it's simply because you know.
because you know. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
because you know.
mhm.
When we are like it says, I have the abilities you possess. I have said that the abilities you possess are only shadows of your real strength, and that perception, which is inherently judgmental. See, I have to judge through my perception. You know, I have to judge. I perceive a distance, so then I have to judge the distance. But if I know the distance, I don't have to judge the distance. And
And
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say in regards to that, you know, judging distance, perceiving distance, sometimes the distance between point A and point B can seem longer or shorter, depending on um, your I'm trying to think of the word, your determination to get there and how quickly you get there and the time and if there is a time limit on it or something like that.
But
Is
that's
what
still
I'm
judgment.
thinking.
But that's still judgment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because the truth is that if it's 2 miles, it's still 2
Mhm.
miles, whether it's a
still 2
fast 2
miles.
miles to me or whether it's a fast 2 miles to you. You know, it's still
Right.
2 miles. And when
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
and when we're understanding perception, see, to go by what Forrest was saying, is that, you know, if somebody is perceiving a person walking up with a hoodie on, if they're perceiving something negative, they're going to see something negative, you know, and they're going to judge it negatively based on what their realization, what their realization is.
What they've been.
Yeah.
Or what
Is
they've been taught or
how
told.
they have determined it to be. But when you actually and it says let's see, and that perception, which is inherently judgmental, was introduced only after the separation. See, once my mind has been separated from knowing the truth, you know, and I think, you know, we have all had that experience from, you know, childhood up, you know, and, you know, we have learned something in school, but we know that at home, it's a whole completely different story. You know, we might know that somewhere else. So, you know, so that's the thing that causes that split in mind, you know, is that now my mind is separated from one reality to another reality, you know. So, you know, when we rise above perception. And so just to give a good example is that when we first came on and I was telling Harriet that I got bad feet, bad knees, bad this, bad that. And she said, no, don't think that.
Well,
because that's not the truth. The truth is that, you know, that might be what my body is experiencing, but that's not what I am. I am not filled with pain. I am not filled with hurt. I am not filled with these things. You know, my body might be experiencing them, but as soon as I said I am now believing in the thing. I
you add
am
into
believing.
it.
Wait a minute, I got some people coming in.
Words have power. Everything you says has power, believe it or not.
Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah, and once if I as long as I am believing in the perception, yeah, I perceive the pain because you know, that's the thing that I am trusting in. I'm trusting in the pain because damn, that hurt. You know?
But also, Pim, if you don't mind me asking a question, is it also that it hurts, but it's also that it hurts and it's a familiar pain? Not for you, not just for your case, just for how that perception comes along again.
Yeah, but that's the part that doesn't matter. When we are rising above perception,
Yeah, when we're
whether we're
arriving,
familiar
yeah.
with it or not, you know, because we're
So
going to always be familiar with the ego, because that ego is that sense of where we have come, are more we are more familiar with the ego. We're more familiar with the body. We're more familiar with this personality. We're more familiar with what we have heard, you know, touched, tasted, all of those things. We're more familiar with those things. But now that we are trying to rise above that, we don't have to trust what is familiar. We trust the thing that is the truth. And the truth is that there is no pain. That's why, you know, Jesus could hang on a cross and give up his body when he felt like it. You know, everybody else had their legs, you know, broken so that they could hurry up and die, because everybody was tired of them sitting around dying all day, you know. But Jesus didn't have to do that. He gave up his body because he could rise above the situation of the flesh, of the, you know, of the ego, or, you know, the things that we perceive. And that's what we are. Oh, what did I do here? I did something. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So yeah, that's what we do, is that when we are now that we are rising above, we should, I can't say can, you know, we should choose only what we know as truth. And as truth, we are healed, we are whole, we are complete. And we and that's the thing we need to become familiar with. And that was Richard that came in. Hey Richard, how you doing? We're still on sentence number 1, just to
All
let
right,
you know.
cool. Cool. Good to see y'all.
what's up, brother? What's up?
Peace, peace, peace.
Yeah, I just asked the question because again, I know that perception is a part of ego, and I know that ego is something that we all have. But looking at it in that way of actually using ego and perception in a positive way to avoid that type of situation, as far as going back to the first sentence, that, you know, that knowing that you have that and that you are judgmental, and maybe I haven't read the second sentence, so maybe I might be going a little too ahead of myself. I like to surprise myself, so I haven't read the second
Yeah, well,
sentence.
we're not on the second sentence anyway. Oh
Yeah.
that's real short.
But I really think I really think it's powerful, because I really think it's showing us that yes, you are supposed to be accountable for the things that are going along. And yes, you are supposed to understand certain things. And and yes, you are right. And maybe like again, maybe I'm looking at it from a different point of view, but um yes, a perception of certain things is correct. So if you're feeling a certain way about uh your perception, maybe you are right. You know, if you feel that everyone is looking at you in this type of light, maybe you are right. Maybe it's not. May- Maybe you are going against the grain. Maybe a lot of things are you're not producing the way that you're supposed to be producing. So so your perception is off, but everyone else's perception is correct. Is that can that happen? And without ego.
Well, if I can just jump in for a second, and I'm gonna let Richards have something to say. I think that integration. I think that you might be talking about integration that we
Yeah,
do. Yes,
yeah,
you
I'm
know,
just speaking human studies, just every day
yeah, that's
dealing
what
with
I'm talking
people.
about. Integration.
Yeah.
We got to integrate our ego self to our spirit self, so that we can
Mhm.
become in alignment. Because you know, Jesus didn't do anything without his body. Everything he did, his body did as well. So he integrated his body, his physical body, which is his personality, which is his ego, along with his inner self, his spiritual self. You know, so that's, and this is what we are learning how to do in the course, is how to integrate that spiritual self and that physical self, so that yeah, your body can walk across a rainbow bridge like Buddha's did. So that yeah, my body can walk on water. You know, so yeah, I don't have to only trust the pain. You know, I can walk through the pain. I don't have to only trust the pain. I can walk through it, you know,
Okay.
and live within it. So you know, but Richard, what are your thoughts?
You talking about the first verse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, this was
Verse.
it's interesting because I'm starting to ground myself in the knowledge versus perception concept, and to me, it's just saying that our real strength, like what we're doing right now, is only a smidget of our real strength, which is when we rely on knowledge, and that we spend a fair amount of time, or we potentially spend a fair amount of time in perception, which is that sense of judgment, but the fact that it didn't, perception didn't exist until we started believing in this idea of separation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had that right too. It is knowledge and perception, right? That's what we've been talking about the last few weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Yep.
all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm saying and that split between knowledge and separation. Now, but when you are, but my question is still when you are aware of it, when you are aware of that, there is that somewhere there is a split between knowledge and separation. And again, I haven't gone further because we're just speaking of where we're speaking of. Um, is there is there a healing to that? And how do you all think that happens? I'm just asking that question. Like I said, I didn't go any further from reading.
Mm.
So I'm just picking brains.
I think you asked it. I just want to make sure I got your question right. You said, is there a healing from just this state of being in perception? Is that what you're talking about healing from?
From understanding that yes, there is that we do have the energy and we do have the perception to make things happen and move things, that along with that comes a judgment, but understanding and balancing that out, that these are the decisions that we stick to. So again, I ask that question: is that what we're practicing on those three levels right there? But again, I haven't gone. We're only on that first part, so I would like to keep moving. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask everybody, on the group, on how do you think your energy, as far as your energy, do you feel that your energy comes with that judgment along with ego and perception? And pretty much everybody answered.
Got you.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about, because I mean, a couple of lessons back, one of the things we had talked about was the we need while we're in ego, we need perception to get to knowledge.
Right.
So we need to learn how to perceive correctly or innocently, so that we can, perceive purely without fear, or without
Mhm.
basically without fear. So if we can
Mhm.
perceive innocently without fear, now we accept knowledge more and more and more, until our knowledge and our perception lines comes into alignment.
Yeah, where
And
where it becomes
that's how
natural.
we practice.
Yeah, where it becomes not natural instead of a doctrine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah. Instead of a
Mhm.
doctrine. Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with that. And I'll say one of the tactics that I've used is, after reading a couple of books, they say that there's two main emotions: there's love and fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, when I tap into my body, if I feel like, something that's going on in my head or whatnot is rooted in fear, then I pause before I act, and rethink what would my response look like if it was out of love. And that's been working all right so far.
And why shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because well, part of it is because it boils down to what we mean when we say love.
Mhm.
Slow movements and slow breaths.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes, I at least for me, I have to make sure that I'm not confusing, or I'm not reverting back to attachment or lust.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
gotcha.
that's been a key
Okay.
thing.
Okay. Now I understand why you were put it in a hesitant manner.
Yeah. I go to Divine for everything. This new lady sent
Yeah.
me a text. This new lady sent me a text message. I'm going to Divine before I respond.
Mhm.
I saw you tiptoeing, brother. I saw you tiptoeing.
Yes, sir. All the time.
Oh,
Okay. Want to read sentence number 2? We're just on sentence number 2.
No one has been sure of anything since.
wow.
Yeah.
Read that again,
And
please.
No one has been sure of anything since. Since and I think it's
The
and
sense
I,
of
and I,
separation.
right, and because the last thing it was talking about was the separation, and so
Mhm.
once we buy into this separation idea, we become unsure of
Yeah.
everything.
That's where doubtful comes in.
Yeah.
Doubt will open that door wide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And
we,
that goes back to the last statement that Richard just made about the taking that pause and making sure that the response comes from love and unconditional love, not the lust kind of love.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Well, for me, I always make it an effort to bring the energy of love everywhere I go. So that's if I'm trying walking on the street or wherever I'm going, I make a conscious effort to say I'm moving my energy of love to people that I meet. So that's how I live my
Mhm.
life, and that helps me feel
And
better
that,
about myself.
Yeah.
and that, and excuse me, and that is so important. Hmm. I got something here. But and we do, we really have to stop and think about things before we, and there's nothing wrong with pausing before you proceed with whatever it is you're doing, whether you're going to say something or whether you're going to do something. It's better to pause. And as Richard says, go to the divine before you respond in whatever way you have to respond, so that what you do, the way you do respond, is out of love, that unconditional love.
Yeah, so that it's a response rather than a reaction.
Exactly.
I
Hmm.
want to move on to number 3.
Yeah. I have also made it clear that the resurrection was the means for the return to knowledge, which was accomplished by the union of my will with the Father's. The
Ooh.
resurrection
Mm-hmm.
was the means for the return to knowledge.
That's pretty deep.
Ooh, so this is
Hmm.
powerful because we're talking
Yeah.
about like this resurrection of Jesus is less about, it should be less about him being persecuted and killed, because even in that process nothing really happened to his core self, to his true self.
Right.
The damage was done to his body died, but his core self remained.
Exactly,
And then
the spirit.
right, and then he returned and joined back the source, which is connected throughout us all. That's powerful. That's just a whole different way
Yeah.
of looking at Easter.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And also his body was the thing that was resurrected. You know, so that whole entire self was part of the was part of the resurrection. You know, was that whole integration was part of it. He didn't leave his body here. He took his body with him. You know, his body was the thing that was that in that what's the word that I'm looking for? That
Ascension, the ascension.
no, his body was the thing that took all of the pain and all of the hard, all of the difficulties, the thing that took on all of the death. And so when we're looking at perception and we're looking at ego, we're not, I think it's also because one big thing that is in the metaphysical crowd is that people want to get rid of the ego altogether. They said, what good is the ego? Well, but here is saying that how I perceive the little I, how I align myself with the big I, the whole I, so that's how you see me. That's how we can recognize one another, is through the alignment with the ego and alignment with the holy self, with the inner self, so that nothing needs to be left behind. Everything ascends at once. Everything ascends at the whole, in the wholeness. So we all experience a resurrection. So I'm resurrected in my mind, my body, and my spirit.
That's interesting because I had never considered or thought about what happened to Jesus's body after crucifixion. Before, because I remember scripture that was talking about how, you know, um, his body, ascended to heaven, but
Mhm.
he rose and still did some ministry work, and then eventually, the idea that his body moved on. But there's also a passage that I remember reading just recently where, when I think it was Mary who was there, and she saw the two angels, and she saw somebody else, but she didn't even recognize that it was Jesus. So that's
At the
I'm
tomb, yeah.
yeah, as a tomb, yeah. So I'm intrigued. I had never thought about what happened with this body after that time frame.
That's
Huh.
interesting.
Mhm.
And when he met with the disciples in what was it, Galilee? After his resurrection, when he met with them, uh, according to the Bible, the room that they were in, the disciples that is, the room that they were in was locked.
Hmm.
So when you think about it, and it's portrayed, or it's acted out when you see in any movie or documentary where they're talking about the resurrection and his appearing to the disciples. It kind of shows him actually uh, almost a ghost-like
Right.
entity that goes through, that is able to pass through the walls. And that's what happened, really, because because the Bible does tell us that the room that they were in was locked.
And he appeared among them.
And yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, because and I think that this is what this whole thing is all about. We are, we these first of all, these bodies weren't never supposed to die in the first place. Just the way that the body is set up, that it renews itself every 7 years.
Mhm.
You're in that same. This is the same infant body. This is the same infant bones and skin that I was in, and blood that I was in when it was in my mother's womb. You know, all of this is the same. These vessels that we're in were never supposed to die, but because we have
Abused it.
trusted in the shadows as opposed to the strength, now we become enmeshed with time. So as we understand that resurrection basically means, and we did resurrection, I don't know whether it was in the chapter 3, I think it was in chapter 3, chapter 2, where we did it might have, no, it was in the very beginning of chapter 3 with the very first part where we talked about resurrection. So when we begin to understand that resurrection, that the only thing that needs to be resurrected is the ego, is the body, is the personality, is the flesh, is this vessel. That's the only thing that needs to be resurrected, because everything else is already in place. So as we align ourselves more and more toward the wholeness, and less into the separation, then that's where our that's how we return to knowledge. It says, I have also made it clear that the resurrection was the means for the return to knowledge, which was accomplished by the union of my will, Jesus's will, with the Father. The Father being that the inner self, the Christ.
Mhm.
you know um that would, and that the will or the decision-making process, which is what the will is, the decision-making process of that you will continue to align yourself to be more and more in the will of the Father, so that I'm not only designating myself to the will of the ego, or the will of the will of the ego.
Well, yeah. I feel you. I call everybody, but that doesn't say father. That says fathers. So that means
No.
more than one.
No,
No,
Father is
that
apostrophe S.
it's
Apostrophe
apostrophe.
S.
It's
Yeah.
apostrophe S.
Yes,
Yeah.
that means more than one.
No, it
No,
only means
no,
one.
apostrophe. That's
Uh,
a possession with
that's the
apostrophe.
possession. Yeah.
Okay, and bless you. Okay, you're using as a
Yeah.
yeah. I see where you're the
Yeah.
fathers.
Yeah. It's your father's will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
which
if the Father was
but it
speaking,
still,
it would be
I mean,
mine.
what words?
But good question though.
Still looking at it on that point of words. And that point of view, his father's will would have been that point of view from where he was held from in those beliefs. So again, he would be practicing Judaism. I can't say he would be practicing Judaism because it wasn't a such thing. He would
Right.
be a Hebrew.
But it's knowledge.
Yeah, he would be a Hebrew.
It wasn't belief. It was knowledge.
Yeah, he would be practicing from a point of view of a knowledge. So it wouldn't be a religion. It would
It
be
wasn't religion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't religion.
It would be from a point. It would be from a point of view of an everyday of being.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes.
So like that's like the first hip hop.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means.
I mean, I know I got you lost a little bit, Pam, but I mean, even though that we did not understand them as far as hip hop, and I'll piece them together. Even though we didn't understand hip hop in the way that you all didn't understand hip hop in the way that we understood hip hop, our hip hop comes from from an older generation's music. It's a broken dialect from an older generation's music. Where we rap and scratch upon is from your albums of Impeach the President and things like that, and Mudbone and
okay, but I'm getting really lost. I'm getting really lost in your in your descriptions. Is this?
Yeah. So I'm bringing you back. I'm gonna bring you back around. So is this where Jesus is speaking? Is this Jesus seeing an older generation of knowledge being reborn, and that's the resurrection?
Mm-hmm. No, because he's not talking about perception at all. So no generations.
I didn't say perception.
No,
I said
but listen what I'm saying. He's not talking about perception at all. So he's not talking about anything generational. He's not talking about anything human. No, nothing that came from time, nothing that humans created. He's only talking about knowledge, the will of the Father, which is creation itself, which is source itself.
Yeah, which means the return of knowledge. That's what I'm saying. Was a knowledge lost then and is being being replaced right there from the from the sentence that we have read. I have also made it clear that the resurrection was the means for the return to knowledge, which was accomplished by the union of my will with the Father's. So is it a knowledge that was gained, and that is what's being passed along instead of the death of instead of us looking at the death and that type of and looking at the death and that type of resurrection. Was it a knowledge that was resurrected?
Yes.
Yes. I like how you said that. Yeah. So the resurrection. So thinking about the resurrection, more about the return of knowledge, the resurrection of knowledge versus the rising up of Christ.
Yes, just
Yeah.
not just the body being brought back to life and everyone witnessing that. But it was a knowledge that was resurrected, an older knowledge of that, of breaking of those chains. So that's
Right.
what I was.
Right. And I think the interesting thing about that is that return of knowledge coincides with Jesus's return back to source, his return back to, to the Father. That happens, and like again, Jesus says he lives in everybody.
Right.
And so I think
Right.
I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of this is really important because this is how we have through religion, which is perception, we have been taught how to continue to perceive as opposed to know. And what has been called knowledge is actually perception. So, that's why we have so many. I mean, I don't even know how many Christian religions there are. I think I just heard something the other day that there are
Like
over
200,000.
200,000 Christian religions.
Mm-hmm. Sects.
And everybody say Jesus.
SEC.
Everybody say
SEC.
Jesus, and he ain't a Christian.
He's not.
Right.
Because he was seen as the Christ, and that's where we get Christians from. They were people that followed him were deemed Christians.
Yeah.
And that is not even spoken of by in the four Gospels. It's not
Right.
even mentioned until until Luke writes the book of Acts.
One
He
of those
talks about
emperors, Constantine.
I mean, you ask anybody who is a devout, who has studied from that point of view. You ask anybody, you say, "What's Jesus' last name?" They'll tell you Christ.
Yeah, because that's what they say. But
that's what they
that's
say.
just the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing is that when we have learned, we have been taught, we trust what we have been taught. So this is the Course in Miracles is teaching us how to deconstruct our minds from that old way of thinking into back to the beginning. So it's not even a new way of thinking. It's back to like, I guess what you were talking about, hip hop, is back to the original. It's back to that original thought.
Nothing is, you can't get nothing new without nothing old. Something had to come before it to create what we create, and that's why I use hip hop as a point of view. Our beats are James Brown. Our beats are the Shy-Lights. Our beats are the same music that we play at parties when we all get together. Parliament Funkadelic. Our beats are those beats. It's just
Right.
it's just a different sound. It's just a different vibration. So is it saying the same thing from a point of view? Yeah, but has it been twisted? I'm pretty sure it's a little bit diluted from what it originally was. But if you dig deeper, you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it is on the resurrection of knowledge, on what's being said here is that resurrection of knowledge is within us.
Yes.
But we're taught to spend so much time on resurrection of how Jesus died
Yeah.
and the pain and the suffering that he went through.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
and that's what they seem to dwell on is the so-called sacrifice that he made. But what we should really be focusing on is the resurrection,
Right.
which is that not, excuse me, is that knowledge that he's talking about that is being resurrected. And
And I'm being
it's the
and I'm gonna
resurrection.
be and I'm gonna be a little bit biased. In them couple years he spent in Egypt, he got that knowledge there. So I'm gonna be a little biased.
Yeah, but where did he spend
I'm
the years between the ages of 12 and 30? Where was he
exactly.
then?
Exactly. Those years were
And
spent in Egypt. Those years were spent in Egypt.
were they?
Yeah. But the thing is that for us to realize that all things manifest are just shadows. All of this,
Mhm.
everything manifested is illusion. Whether it's Egypt, whether it's the Phoenicians, whether it's I don't know, whatever came from Atlantis, whatever whatever came from beginning, all things manifest is illusion. And once we get past the illusion into the wholeness, into the knowledge, and that's where it's saying that which was accomplished by the union of my will with the Father's. So when we think of that, we have to make the choice to integrate our will with that of the Father's, which is creation, which is source. And get past get past everything illusionary, get past all of this, and not to only trust in what we can perceive, our sight, touch, taste, all of that is just part of the illusion, to move forward into only the resurrection, into knowledge. That's the thing that you were right, Andre, when you said that the knowledge is what we resurrect. That's the thing that we need to resurrect is our sensation of knowledge. Mm-hmm. Richard, did we shut you up? You pretty quiet? Or
No,
did we shut y'all up?
no. I agree with what y'all saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't want to repeat what y'all already said, but I agree.
And that's the hard part. That's the hard part is understanding that everything manifests is illusion. It's just like looking in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I'm seeing an illusion of myself. But as I realize that that's not real, what I see in the mirror, it it's just like this life is all mirror. Everything that we are considering as real is illusion. And we are trying to get back to the real, which is knowledge.
What you mean?
Oh, go ahead, Harriet.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, so I think it came up a little bit earlier in the discussion that we were never meant to die.
Right.
So when you look into the mirror and you see the body.
Mm-hmm.
You see the illusion.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
let me this is where I want to kind of dig in a little bit, because this might help me as I process what when I look into the mirror, what's real? Like when you look into the mirror, like what is real? Is there nothing there that's real? Is what you're saying?
Right. Right. Because the mirror is only reflecting what is real. There's nothing on that piece of glass. Once the real thing moves away from the glass, it's no longer there.
Okay, got you. Thank you. That was the key thing, was you're not seeing yourself, you're seeing a reflection or
Right.
perceptions,
Uh-huh.
of yourself. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Ooh, yeah, that's it. I keep thinking, because I talk to so many people who aren't in this space in their lives. And so
Mhm.
when you say that to people, it's like, are you kooky as I don't know what? Like, bro, like I'm looking at myself. And
Yeah.
I want to kind of process and get that language right to say,
Yeah.
let's be clear. You
Yeah.
can't see yourself. You can only see a reflection of yourself.
True. Yes.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's the key thing that I think is super important, because as we look at the world, and we see a reflection of what it is that's going on inside of us.
Yes.
And we don't always see things for what they are. We see things based off of who we are. Ooh, there we go. Thank you. Get it, Big Sue. Get it, Big Sue. Let's get that notepad out. Let's write it out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I kind of like this sentence 3, because when you look at the sentence 3, it's so wrapped up into what our religious icons are. We're talking about the Father, we're talking about resurrection, we're talking about all of this stuff that seems like that, it seems like the old, but actually what he's talking about, well, it seems like the old, but what he's actually is talking about is what is real. That there is only the Father and the will of the Father.
And what that all boils down to is he's trying to tell us that we need to look within.
Yes. Yes.
But because we are so programmed, and I'm beginning now to really understand, because I've heard it so many times over the years, that we only use 10% of our knowledge, of our energy, of our strength. And that's why we are these vessels that we call Penelope, Richard, Andre, Forrest, Harriet, are not able to accomplish or achieve the things that the Christ or Jesus showed us that we can do, because he was mortal just like we are. And his message, very subtly sometimes, and sometimes very blatant, is you can do this.
Yeah.
But we just refuse to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do everything that I'm doing. All you have to do is believe.
Yeah.
And trust yourself.
Yeah. So it's kind of like we're humanity, or I don't know whether humanity or society, it's an addiction. We're addicted to this these thoughts, these feelings, this what is right and what is wrong. Those are the things that we're addicted to. So we gotta
Exactly.
get,
And I
we
think
gotta get our chips.
exactly. And I think the other thing too is not only addicted but fearful,
Yeah.
because we're afraid of being criticized. And of late, I have been seeing, don't worry about what somebody else thinks. That ain't your business. You know who you are.
Yeah.
Be who you are, kind of thing. I didn't express it the way it was written, but I think you got the understanding of what it is I was trying to say. I hope anyway.
Mm-hmm. Any
Again,
go
I
ahead.
think again, I don't. Again, I take certain things in a historic point of view, and it's easier for me to look at certain things in a historic point of view. And yeah, I do think that jealousy and envy is an inherent thing that was the first, if you want to call it, for lack of a better word, the first sin. Um, Something was taken from someone. Something was someone was hurt for us to feel the way that we feel when it comes to one another. Now, do we all latch along to those genes of a Cain and Abel? No, but we all understand how you can work hard, well, you can work for something or work hard or however you want to say it, and then you're under recognized for what you've done. you know um we all know those type of feelings. Those are those lower vibrations again. So I think when it comes to certain things, I think that is what was um created in these bodies that were meant to be immortal, in these bodies that were meant to use more than 10% of our brains. But for us to feel that, for us to feel fear, somehow, some way, we adapt it into an animalistic point of view. So no, we don't live as long as anybody else because we're constantly under stress. Our hearts are not supposed to beat as fast as they beat. They're high blood pressure is not supposed to exist. Not in the bodies that we have. We are supposed to be able to consume certain things, but the way that we do things, half of the time we stressed, half of the time we in fear, or half of the time we mad about it.
Mhm.
Very rare.
Mhm.
It's very rare where a bunch of humans are happy, and even in church.
Mhm.
Even in church, that's the most people did it. And Sundays is the most holy. Yeah, Sundays, it should be the most holy days because that's where everybody crazy.
But that's just what that's exactly what you're saying, is because when we stop believing in the fear, when we
Stop
only
believing,
trust in love,
when we actually believe in one another, when we actually know that I mean you no harm, you mean me no harm.
Mhm.
It was an accident for me to cut you off, or maybe it wasn't an accident for me to cut you off, but damn it, I need to get over there. You know, um, as long as you are self-identified within yourself, you can handle these things. Once we let that happen to us, where we take up upon the power that we can rule the world, which each and every one of us can. Hell, look at, I mean, I hate to say it, but hell, look at Donald Trump. If he can say I can do it, then I know we can do it. No disrespect on how anybody's voting, but just in general,
Yeah.
you can
And that's the
you
whole
can
power
do
of
it.
manifestation.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
actually do it, and you can, but you have a choice on doing it. You have a choice to do it.
Exactly.
You have a choice to do it the right way, or you have a choice to do it in a wrong way. And I don't want to say wrong, but you have a choice to do it in a selfish way.
Yeah.
And people are
Mhm.
going to suffer if you do it in a selfish way.
You're gonna suffer too.
Exactly.
Yeah. And because we have to learn how to love ourselves. Like Richard was saying, if he considers a thing before, where am I? Am I in fear or am I in love? If I'm in fear, let me sit back for a minute. If I'm in love, let me work this out so that it's not a selfish love. Let me work
Yeah.
this out so that it comes from the divine and not from selfishness. And and that takes practice. That's just it. It just takes practice.
Yeah, because
And thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
because the human, not, I won't say the human body, but our human experience at this point in time, maybe it wasn't supposed to be like this, but our experience is the first thing that we do see is trauma.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The first thing you do is you come out pushed out, screaming, lights in your face, smacked on your butt.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't think that it was supposed to go like that. Baby deers, they just fall out. They just fall out and start walking.
Right. But they've experienced trauma too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
You
saying
know what
that
I'm saying?
I'm not saying
But
that trauma
it's
does not exist on
6:16.
there.
So so we got one more sentence. Let's kind of finish up this. When me and Harriet started, we said, "Oh, this is gonna go by so quick." So maybe we should do 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, right.
But no, it just
That
it don't work out like that.
this
But
paragraph,
these things, but
yeah,
yeah, this is the importance of, this is why when we started this program, we wanted to do it line by line, because it's so easy to gloss by something that's really, really important based on perception alone. When we go through it line by line, it's easier to see the actual, so that everybody has an opportunity to get down to the root of the sentence. I'll read sentence number 4.
right. And have a better understanding of it.
Yes. Yes. We can now establish a distinction that will clarify some of our subsequent statements. Okay, well then that's good, because that helps us clear this thing up. We can now, that's just what I just said. we can now establish a distinction that will clarify some of our subsequent statements. That in order to deconstruct the trauma, like Andre was saying, to get us out of fear. And fears are so insidious. The one thing that we mostly think of fear as something big, but fear can be so minuscule, and it can be so undercover that we don't even know what we're afraid of until we face with it. So, and I think that this is why we do what we're doing right here, is that we're looking at all of the subsequent statements, that led us up to this point.
No. Subsequent means what's following, right? So what I got, what I got from this was that this is a precursor to what it is that we're going to get into, because right now it makes sense to make the distinction so that we can, just looking ahead, address how the separation has impacted how we think what the words create and make mean. So they're going to take us, they've got to take us on a journey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm gonna be here early next week. It's like Days of Our Lives.
Days of our
As the world turns.
lives. That Friday afternoon cliffhanger.
Right.
Who shot JR? But yeah, so but just to understand where we are right now, and that all of these things we have talked about before, ain't none of this stuff new.
Right. But what has been interesting is the different ways that they say it, so that it's reinforcing things that we've learned before in a really interesting way. I appreciate how it's flown.
It just gives us a different
hear
perspective
you.
from time to time.
I can't hear you.
Well, because they say it a different way, it causes our
It-
conversations to move in some different areas, which
It-
I really appreciate.
It is.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll just tell you, I'll just go ahead and jump right into sort of some takeaways regarding this. Perception.
Oh, okay. So you're not coming?
Perception
Mhm.
involves judgment. Knowledge
Well, it will be out.
is in alignment with sort of
I'm
truth,
looking
that
at
and that's also our strength.
Mhm.
Okay.
To know who we are, which I will say is the truth, is to know that we are all connected, that there is no separation, and that there is this sort of understanding of how we think about the resurrection, that to me is compelling, that we realize that that the crucifixion and the resurrection was I don't know, bringing returning knowledge back to us. And I just think I just think that that's powerful. And just as a side note, I was looking somewhere just recently, and they were talking about the idea of prayer and how, and I think it kind of coincides with this, but like the idea of prayer is that the only need for prayers for forgiveness. And in many ways, that forgiveness is for the illusions that we create when we think we are separate from source. So every week, we come here and we have an opening prayer and a closing prayer. And as I try to move away from, my traditional Christian, prayer, one of the things that I'm finding interesting as I develop my own prayer is the idea of how, with this idea, how I think about prayer now, that it's less about praying for me, because that perpetuates the idea that there's a separation between me and others. That my prayer as I'm developing them now is always about the we. And so I'm finding that pretty interesting. So thank y'all for listening to my TED Talk.
I know who's doing the closing prayer today.
I know I got it written. I got it written in front of me. I'm ready.
Excuse me. Anybody else wants to go next with the
Well, to piggyback off of what Richard just said, prayers, affirmations, whatever we think, whatever we say, is in essence a prayer. Because when you tell somebody goodbye, you're saying, "So long, I'll see you later." That's a prayer, because you're hoping that sometime in the future you will see that individual, kind of thing. So every thought, every word that we utter, they are all prayers. We just don't think of them in that way. Even when you curse somebody, that's a prayer, although not a good one, but it's still a prayer. But as far as today's lesson is concerned, this one packed more of a wallop than I expected. And the big thing that I got out of it is the whole idea of the resurrection of knowledge so that we can know the truth. And I'm not sure if it's directly from the Bible or if it's something that they say is from the Bible. But ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And when you do know the truth, there is a feeling of freedom, knowing that you know the truth.
Thank you. How about you, Andre?
It's always cool to go through A Course of Miracles, especially with you all, because I always have to remember something that sometimes escape my memory. That these are the words of someone who is speaking, which I do greatly admire, speaking that they would speak from Jesus himself. So it always puts me in a position where I can speak and ask questions confidently in the flesh and in the skin that I am in, of what's going on and how it's going on, and then also, pushing the certain knowledge that I know, just to enlighten, and seeing that it does work, and resurrection is there, even when I myself as a individual can go, you know what, no, that doesn't make sense to me, but then speaking with you all, I can see why that part doesn't make sense to me, but the knowledge makes sense to me, and the blessings, and the bounty of the spiritual part makes sense to me. So remembering to what I want to remember is that is a gift that is given to me, and to continue to use it, and use it properly as well.
Thank you. Yeah. How about you, Forrest? Is he still here?
Did we lose
Is Forrest
Forrest?
still here? Okay, well, I'll go. What I got from what I got from this class today is just a simple reminder, is that, I'm the one that always believes that I can walk on water. Well, if I'm believing that I can walk on water, I need to stop trusting that I can't. And as soon as I align my will with that of the Father, then I will be whole and complete. And once I am whole and complete, I will see everyone else whole and complete. I won't be judgmental. I won't be afraid. I won't be harnessing any type of negative energy. I will be able to be the wholeness of what I know that I truly am. So I just always want to thank you all again for reminding me that there is no separation, that there is only truth, that there is only love, and that I am that we are all a part of that love, and that everything resides the same. So that's it. Okay, so tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow we have I am in the morning at from 11 to 11:30. We have flight from 7 to 8:30. And let's see, this Saturday we will Andre, you'll be doing the oh golly, the Book of Enoch, correct?
Yes, correct. We'll be doing the book of Enoch.
Okay, so we'll be doing the Book of Enoch on Saturday, and that's going to be from 2 to 4.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's it, everybody. So Richard, would you like to close us out in prayer?
Yes, I would. If I can, let me get everybody just to take a quick breathe in, breathe out, and let's settle in wherever we're seated. I call upon the ancestors, archangels, spirit guides, and all of the divine beings, and thank you for being with us today. Today, as we pause to acknowledge the blessings that grace our lives, we are grateful for every moment, from the simplest joys to the most profound experiences, the learnings that we gain today. Let gratitude fill our hearts and overflow into our actions. May we express our thankfulness in words, but in also how we live, embracing life with a heart full of appreciation. May love be our guiding force in all that we do. Let compassion flow freely from our hearts, touching the lives of those we encounter. Let us choose to see the divine spark within each being and treating them with the same love and respect we desire for ourselves. That through unconditional love, we contribute to a world that is kinder, gentler, and more harmonious. And with that, we say, and so it is.
And
And
so it
so it
is.
is. That was
Thank
beautiful.
you. We got
Uh-oh.
Richard on board now.
I'm getting on board. I'm getting on board. Thank y'all for letting me test that out. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. So, but thank y'all. Today's
Always,
lesson was
brother. Always, brother. That was great.
Great.
That was great.
That was great. That
Appreciate
was
you.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
you.
Y'all
Yes.
do not know how every week I struggle. You'd be like, Penelope, you'd be like, anybody want to say prayer? And I'm like, man, I ain't ready this week. Harry, I'll say,
Oh,
I got it.
man.
So I said, let me start. Let me do like I did when I was a child. Let me write it down, and now we'll be good from there. So thank y'all.
You heard you heard what
It
you
was-
heard what I said and how I mixed this together. Hip hop just turned 50. We grown ups now, man.
Yeah, man.
Our poetry is great. Let us
Yeah,
do
man.
what we do.
Better get it right.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I love y'all.
All right, love you too.
Love you.
Bye.
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 Peace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold up a second. There we go. Stop recording.